Okay, so the skirt is ready to pin on the form. So first we pin the side seam at the hip level line. We pin the side seam at the hip level. And pin the center front at the hip level line. Pin the center back at the hip level line. Check the muslin, take a look like a box on the form. And then pin the center front at the waist. Pin the center front at the hip level line. Pin the center front at the waist. Pin the center back at the waist. Smooth up the muslin. Pin the center front at the waist. Okay, double check the muslin like a box on the form. Okay, then establish the ease evenly at the hip level line. At the side 2 inch, the T-line, between the T-line and the side seam, there's no ease. There's no ease at the first 1 inch to the center front. Then put the ease evenly at the hip level line. The same at the back. No ease between T-line and the side seam. No ease at the beginning at the 1 inch close to the center back. Then establish the ease evenly at the hip level line. Double check the lengthwise of the muslin is straight down. Okay, so it looks good. Now we could pin the T-line, straight up the T-line, and fix the T-line at the waist. Crease the middle line and straight up the T-line at the waist. Straight up. Straight up the T-line at the back. Straight up the T-line to the waist. Crease the middle of line and pin them at the side seam. Okay, straight up. There's no ease at the lengthwise. There's no ease at the lengthwise, okay? And crease the middle line, okay? And then pin the side seam at the waist. So you can notice there is excess fabric at the waist. So if you remember, there's a dot at the apex lengthwise. So we could set the first dot match to the apex lengthwise. So it could match to the dot at the body's front. We divide the axis fabric into two, and one set at the apex lengthwise, another in the middle between side seam to the dot. So we also have 1/4 for east at the west. And the back, we also set 2 dots at the back west. And the dot goes to center back, match to the dots in the body's back. We also leave about 1/4 east at the west. So there's no east at the lengthwise, no east at the lengthwise, okay? No east at the lengthwise, no east at the lengthwise. But we have 3/8 for east at the hip level line front, and 3/8 for east at the hip level line back. 1/4 for east at the west front, 1/4 for east at the west back. We already almost finished to drape the skirt on the form. Now we need to mark the important point and line. So first we cross mark the center front at the west. Dot, dot along the west, dot, dot along the west, dot, dot along the west. Cross mark the dot, cross mark the dot, cross mark the dot. Dot, dot along the west. Cross mark the dot. Cross mark the dot. Dot, dot along the west. Dot, dot along the west. Cross mark the side seam at the west. Cross mark the dot at the west. Cross mark the side seam. Cross mark the side seam at the west. Dot, dot along the west. Cross mark the dot at the west. Cross mark the dot at the west. Dot, dot along the west. Dot, dot along the west. Cross mark the dot at the west. Cross mark the dot at the west. Then dot, dot along the west. Cross mark the center back at the west. Okay. Then we need to dot, dot along the side seam. Dot, dot, dot along the side seam. Dot, dot along the side seam. Okay. Double check you already marked the important point and the line. Okay. And then we could remove the fabric to the table.